All right, so let's go back again. All right, the question was, can you move this data from one database to another under the same instance? Yes, and that's exactly just what I've been doing. I wasn't doing it intentionally, right? But it just happened that I was moving data from this to this, right? Just under the same instance. But what I really wanted to do was to move the data from this to this using SSIS package, right? That's what I was trying to do, but I just did something different. Yeah, so that's the answer is correct. Yeah, you can do that. So now that I've understood what was wrong, so if we go back right now and make sure that we create the connection correctly. So now I'm going to call this one here dbo.person. Create. Check the mapping. Done correctly. All right. Okay. So now, if I run this package now, it should insert the data on the right direction. Very simple package, not complicated. Data import, very simple, right? So let's see why is it not taking so long now. All right, okay. Data is now moving from this source to the destination. So you can use this for data refresh. So 19,000 rows have been imported. So let me stop the package and then go back to SQL. And then now check here, I should be able to see a new table created here now. Refresh. And there you go, that's my table. And at least it has its record, right? There are values in that table. That's exactly what I wanted to do. All right. So now it's working. So let me pause this video and then just help one more person so we can now see that we can join that. All right. Simon, stop sharing. I think it's going to work for you. Your computer is quite slow and your internet is also really slow quite a lot. All right. But that is exactly how that will work. Once it's done, you're going to see that the package was successful. All right. Okay. Last question for Ehi, and then we'll move on. Yes, Ehi.
Yeah, this is more of a question and an observation. So at the point where we create the database, that's for the destination server, you ask us to put the DBO first. But when the package is created, like when the table is transferred, the DBO is listed twice. So my question is, why do you have to put the schema first? Well, before the table, when it just says create table?
Yes, I see that. That's a very good observation. I was putting that DBO because I felt that it wasn't created because I did not put the schema. But indeed, the schema was there. It was just that the connection was wrong. So you can see that when you put that DBO, SQL thinks that the table name is DBO.person, right? So generally, you don't have to put that DBO again. You just have to put the table name, and it will attach it to the right schema. All right. So that's why you see DBO listed twice, because it's thinking that the real table name is DBO.person. Meanwhile, I was doing it because it wasn't working from the beginning. That's why I added the DBO. So you just have to put the right table name, and that should be it. Okay, guys. At this point, let's go ahead. Let's move on. Okay. So right now, we've seen that a simple package like this can move data from the source to destination. Now, as a database administrator, how do I make sure that I manage this package, right? How does this package get managed?
Every year.
Can someone mute, please?
I've muted her. I see that all my assistants I've added are giving them are doing no job in this class. They're not helping me at all to help. Okay, Elvina, I'm making you a co-host, okay? So let me really call out a name so you guys know that you are a co-host. When you hear noise, just help me unmute or mute the person for me, okay? Thank you. All right. So right now, we have our package, and let's assume that this package was created by you or someone else, and this package we need to do this refresh, this data insertion every single day, and we need to create it as a job. First of all, for this to work, Normally, when developers develop packages, they develop it in Visual Studio, but this package don't run in Visual Studio, right? Remember, when you run it on Visual Studio, it does work. It works. Every single time you run this package, it's going to insert this role. For example, if I go back and do a select statement on this table here, right? I see that the number of rows that I get here, database run. On this, I see that I get about 19,000 rows, right? 19,972 rows. If I go back to Visual Studio and run this package one more time, right? Because there's no constraints and so on, it will still insert the data duplicate. If I run it again one more time, go ahead and run the package one more time and see what will happen. It will just keep doubling the values. You just run it. Okay, you see, successful. Now, if I go back in SQL and SSMS and run this, you see that the values here will double. Right now, I'm 39,000 records. So every single time I run that, but let's assume that this was a job that you wanted to be inserting this thing every single day. You will not come every single day and run SSI and go to Visual Studio to do it. You have to deploy this code into SQL Server and run it as a job. And that's where most of the time you come in. Sometimes you have to build a package, or if someone builds a package for you, you have to be able to make sure you deploy this package into SQL Server and then carry it as a job. Sometimes you'll be involved during deployment. Like those of you who are asking questions, what kind of questions do I talk about during interviews? That's what I talk about, right? You could be involved during releases. Whenever I say deployment or releases, some of the release might just be the SSIS package that have been created in Visual Studio, they've been tested, and now you, the DBA, have to come in and deploy this SSIS package into SQL Server and schedule a job, have it running in SQL Server, right? So how do we do that? Let's go back to Visual Studio, right? Now the package that we created was called data import. This was the package, data import. Now I have to now deploy this package so that it runs in SQL Server. Now if you go back to SQL Server, I'm going to do it in one of these instances. This SSIS project, right? You can clearly see here, there's something here called Integration Services Catalog, right? Integration Services Catalog. If you expand Integration Services Catalog, you see that there is no database. In order for you to deploy a database into SQL Server, it needs to create an Integration Services Catalog database called SSISDB, right? Default name, you have to have that name. So SSIS, Integration Catalog SSISDB. So we need to make sure that we have that database here so that we can deploy it. So to do, what do? We have to go here on the instance where we want to deploy the work, go on Integration Services Catalog, right click on it and create a catalog. When you create a catalog, this wizard opens and you have to enable CLI integration to be able to, you see the database comes up, SSISDB, and this database normally has a password and encrypted. Unfortunately, I won't have time today to show you how you can migrate during migration. If you have SSIS on the server, how do you do all those things? You can watch out my YouTube videos on how to do those things. I have them on my channel. But here, you need to first of all create the package with a password. So I'm just going to use the same password, password 1. Here, password 1, right? Okay. I'm not going to use it as a scale-out deployment because scale-out deployment just simply means that you have to scale it out to multiple different servers. Enable automatic execution of integration services, stop proc, or a startup. I don't want to do that. I can leave it. So just go ahead and click OK. Now the integration services catalog now DB will be created. And that's where we're now going to go ahead and deploy our database or our package that we were creating. So you can see here, is there SSISDB. You expand this. You have what is called, right now there's no project, nothing under this package because we haven't deployed anything. Now let's go back to Visual Studio now. we have built this package, or someone has built this package, and during releases, you have to now deploy it to SQL Server. How do you do it? You right-click on the package, and you have what is called here, deploy a package. Execute a package will just run the package one more time and insert more values. But that's not what we want to do right now. We're done testing, it works, we're sure it works. We now want to now schedule it in SQL Server to be using it regularly, right? Now you go on deploy a package. You click deploy package. And in this wizard open, we click on next. Now, there are multiple ways you can deploy this. SSIS in SQL Server, SSIS in Azure Data Factory. Remember, we can do that on Azure Data Factory, in Azure Synapse, and so on. But right now, we just want it on SQL Server. Next. Now, which instance of SQL Server do you want to connect to? I have the instance name. So please don't search because most of you keep searching. Here we take backslash SSIS project. That's the instance name, right? Okay, the authentication mode is Windows authentication, and I'm going to go ahead and connect. All right. And then now you have to browse. Where do you want to do it? You see, it has found the SSIS DB. If you have forgotten to create this SSIS DB here previously, you will not be able to deploy it. So since I created it, it now has it. Now I can now create my work, now create more folders to organize my work. For example, let's say I create a folder here and call it here a module 1. For example, you can create this all folders depending on which project you're working on, so that all your SSIS packages don't just go into one big folder, right? So they will be much organized. So I create this folder, click OK. So now I have a folder created for this. All right, call module 1. You can create a new project. Now, because now SSIS packages, now you all have to go on folders. Folder is to organize, but after that, they have to go into projects, right? So I'm going to go ahead and call this project here. Here we take IT SSIS project. All right, that was the project name I'm creating. Okay. Did you do anything? All right, there you go. And now you can now click OK. So look at it now. The deployment, generally at work, this is what the developers will give you during code releases. They will just give you this part, $, if you're downloading the code from a source control, maybe for Azure DevOps or so on. If it's from Azure DevOps, you have just a $, here, the path where the package is coming from. So you now have to know that, okay, this is a code release. I am going to deploy this package under this path, which means the first one is the DB, the SSIS DB. The second one is the folder. The third one is the project. And the last one will be the real package itself. Okay. So this is generally what you see on the release note. They'll just give you this path. Say, I want this package deployed to this server. This is the path. Then you have to understand that this is exactly where the package will be deployed. So click next. And that's it. And then go ahead and deploy. Now, there you go. Successful. Now, this is no longer a package running on Visual Studio. We're done with Visual Studio. You only come back to Visual Studio if this package starts failing and you need to make some changes. When you make those changes, you have to redeploy the package back into SQL Server. From now, we're going to run this directly from SQL Server. So if you go now to SQL Server and then now refresh this, you now expand this SSIS DB. You can see there's a folder called module 1. You expand that folder. You have projects that are created, and there are 2 projects. There's 1 project right now. The first project is here we take IT SSIS project. You expand that project, you're going to see packages. You expand the package, you're going to see I have 1 package called data import. Now, this is now on SQL Server. It has been successfully deployed. It's sitting on SQL Server. You can right-click on this and run it, execute it directly. If I execute this package here directly on SQL Server manually, it will still run because now this package has been deployed in SQL Server and is running under SQL Server. So if I run, right-click here. So sometimes a developer could ask you, hey, can you please run this package for me? Sometimes you may not necessarily schedule this package as a job. It may just be as a package deploying to SQL Server for monthly releases, and then you have to run the package manually. If that is the case, just go right-click, execute the package, and then just click OK. Once the package executes, you're going to see that the values that we have here, 39,000, would have increased. Let's just run it and see. Operation has started, right? Would you want to open the report? Yes, I want to check the report when it's done. I want to see that it's done. Now, this is running the package manually, right? You're running this package manually. And you can see that the status says here running. I can always refresh. It still says running. And you can go on view messages. Sometimes a package might be failing, and you have to troubleshoot why this package is failing. This is how you do that, right? You can go here, check it, make sure it's running. Right now, the package is still running. It has not succeeded. It's taken some time. Let me refresh it again. Okay, see, status now says succeeded. If you go back to SQL Server now and run this select segment one more time, remember we have 39,000 records now. If I run it, I should have more value. You see, it's taking long now to run. Now I have 59,000 records. So at least it's working, but running manually, right? It's running manually. But now I want to create a job so that this package runs at a regular interval. I don't want to run it manually. So you can just go down to jobs, right? Click on job and just create a job. We're going to give the same name for the job, call it data import. Data import, right? Make sure job runs on the SA account. And then the step name, you're just going to create a new step. Call it also data import as well. And now on the step, this is where you're going to schedule the package. Right now, I'm not running a SQL statement anymore. I am going to run a SQL Server Integration Services package. Open that. Now it's going to find out that, okay, there's a catalog on that instance. And on the catalog, the server, right? A moment. Sometimes this browse doesn't work. Now you literally just have to type the server directly. I just made a mistake to browse. I should have typed the server directly. Let me see if I can see type it. No. Yeah. Please don't browse, right? Just type the name directly. It's taking too long to refresh. See, while I'm waiting for this, there's still question, why do you sometimes need to install SDriver before running packages? Well, it really depends on the application, right? Sometimes some applications require some drivers to run packages, but in real normal senses, if it's just a regular SQL Server package, you don't have to install any extra driver to run them, right? If the package were written with a different tool, because SSIS packages can be written with different tools, it's not just through Visual Studio. Then you have to install those drivers to make sure SSIS package will work. Okay, so now I'm going to type the name directly. So the instance name is Kiawitech / SSIS project. That was the instance. SSIS project. All right, good. Now, once I do that, on the package, I can click on this, and you can see SSIS DB was there. I expand SSIS DB, expand module 1, expand the project, and then that's the package. I can find the package. Click OK. Now this is the package. So sometimes a job might fail in SQL Server, and then you're trying to figure out why is this job failing. You right-click on the job, and you go to View History, and it just shows you an integration service package. It's all up to you now to go back and see, okay, on the step, which job was it, and which package was the job running? You can clearly see here, it was running a package called data import. And if you have Visual Studio on your computer, you can now go back now, check Visual Studio, look for the package, open and look for the package, and you see the error messages. You cannot correct it, redeploy it back to SQL Server. right? So this is how you see it. So right now, I've selected the package that I want to run as a job. I'll click OK. So now I can get a schedule and say, let me create a schedule for this. I'll call this schedule here, data import. And I say, I want this to run every single day for me. Run this job every single day. And just run it at 12 midnight. Okay, right? And then go ahead and click OK. So right now, what have I just done? I have now created a job. This job will run SSIS package for me. And this is rightly the job. Okay, the job is called data import. Let's go ahead and run the job now. So if I run the job, start job, what this job does right now, it just go back into SQL Server, go to integration services, pick that package and run it for me. And sometimes this job might fail. Sometimes this job might succeed. And when it starts failing, I will show you how you can troubleshoot it and make sure that it runs. You see, now the job is failing. Very good. I'm so happy that the job failed. So let's go back again and do it again. Let me run it one more time. All right. Run, start job. I want it to fail again so we can look at it. And that's exactly how you have it and work, right? Sometimes SSIS package might fail. Now it failed. So when this job fails, if you go back on this job and right click on job history, generally on job history, you should be able to figure out why a job is failing. But unfortunately, if it's an SSIS package, when you click on it and then you click here, you will not see why the job is failing, right? See here, it just says SQL Server execute this is an SSIS package failed. No reason why the job failed. Nothing. It just says fail. So it's all up to you now to figure out how do I troubleshoot an SSIS package that is failing as a job. What you need to do is that you need to go, now that I've known that it's an SSIS package, I need to go back to this package, right click, or first of all, I will right click here. I will first of all right click here, go to properties of the job that has failed, and go to steps, and double click this step to see what the job is doing. Just double click. And you see that, yes, it's an SSIS package, right? And it's running this package called data import. All right, now I know the package. So since I know the package, I can go back to my integration services catalog, expand SSIS DB, look for the package, right click on the package and go to report. Show me all executions of this job. Now you can see all the execution. The first one succeeded, the second two failed, right? Now you can now, under messages or overview, it will give you a reason why this job is failing. So let's go on messages. Click on messages. Let's figure out why is this job failing. All right. And you can clearly see here, it's telling you here, let's check, okay? An OLDB occurred, the OLDB record, the login failed. See, login failed for user Kiawitech SQL admin. So it means that this job is running with a user called SQL admin. And there's no login on my server called SQL admin. Let's verify, why is this job running with that, why is it running with that login, right? Why did he pick that login? Let's go back. Let's go back to the job, right? Click on the job, properties. Okay. I thought I changed it to SA. I changed it to SA. So I'm trying to figure out, oh, you know why? Yes,
Yes,
I
Prof.
know why.
We need to
Because,
create a SQL admin, give him a sysadmin role.
yes, but first of all, I need to figure out why did the job pick SQL admin? That's the first thing that I need to figure out. Why did it take SQL admin? The reason why it took SQL admin was because, let's go back to configuration manager. In configuration manager, we have configured our SSIS integration services to run using that account.
Yes.
You see? Watch here. SSIS, SQL Server Integration Services, is running using the account SQL Admin. But SQL Admin is not a login on this server, right? It's not a login. So when you configure the job now, it's trying to execute this with that account the SQL Server runs on, but that account does not exist. But when you run it manually, it runs. But if you get it as a job, it will pick the service account the SQL Server was running on. So to fix this problem, it's just that we have to come here and create a login called SQL Admin. You see, I was able to go through that, troubleshoot why the job is running, and then be able to figure out. So SQL Admin, check. All right, now I have the name. I'm just going to give it this admin role. You don't necessarily have to do that, but I'm just giving it this admin role. Okay, now there's a login called SQL Admin. Let's go back again and run that job. Let's run the job. This is a job called data import. Right click and start the job. This is exactly what I do on daily basis, guys, and most database administrators do on daily basis. Either you are creating the packages, deploying the packages, or the packages have been created and given to you, and you have to go in and run the package. And when they fail, you have to troubleshoot why the package is failing. Okay, now it's still failing. Now let's figure out why it's failing. Let's refresh this one more time. Let's go back and check the right one that has just failed. Let's refresh it. Okay, the last one, this is the one that has failed again. Let's go back to messages again. And on messages, let's scroll down and figure out why it's still failing. Login failed for CareWeTech, SQL Admin. Why is it still failing when I've created login? Let me verify this.
Yes, though we need to create that login as well on our source.
On our source as well. Very good. Very good. Because right now it's failing, and you can clearly see that the login is failing. See, you see here, CareWeTech.AdventuresWorld. This is the source. That login does not exist on the source. We've created on destination, but forgot to create it on the source. So let's go back and create it on the source. Very good. Whoever is talking, I'm not able to see. Is that Emmanuel?
No, it's me, Sylvain.
Oh, Sylvain. Okay. Thank you. All right. So now we can go here on our source and make sure that we have that login created. New login. And browse. SQL Admin. Check. Okay. And give it, right? I mean, you must not give it sysadmin. I'm just going sysadmin now. All right. So now we have that login. Let's go back again and run the job one more time. Let's run again. I click, start job. It should work now. Expect it to work. I see how long it's taking, and that's why SSIS packages, generally you see these SSIS packages running somewhere very late in the evening, at night, very early in the morning, or so on, because the SSIS packages do take a lot of time. So when you're running performance issues at work, try to figure out, do you have any SSIS package running? You see, it succeeded, and so on, right? So it succeeded. If I go back to SSMS now and refresh this data, I'll move up to maybe 60 or 77,000 records. I was 59,000 now. Let's see how many records we have. You can see that the table is 79,000 records. So indeed, our package is working. We have been able to learn from this simple demonstration what have I shown you. How you can build an SSIS package, how you can deploy the SSIS package into SQL Server, use it to create a job, and then the job fails. We use that to review why the job is failing, fix the problem, and rerun it And that is what you do as a database administrator on a daily basis. The only thing that we have still to do right now is how to even go in depth in creating different kinds of packages. I've created very simple package, just data load, but there are complicated packages that you can create out there. And this one will really require you to take an intensive SQL Server SSIS program. But as far as your role is concerned, managing these packages, deploying them into SQL Server, troubleshooting them when they're failing, even figure out how to do them during code releases. And there's a code release, how to get the package, how to deploy the package, where to find the package, where to find the parameters. This is exactly what I hope that you're able to achieve with this short demonstration that I'm showing you here. So I'm going to pause here and then take a few questions, and we'll do it one more time. We'll do demonstration one more time, and I will close the class. I was hoping it to last for 2 hours. It's gone for 2 hours, 30 minutes. And next Saturday, I'm going to add up the next part, which is someone has asked me a question here. How do I migrate this SSIS package from one server to another? I will do that next week, Saturday, migrate the server, and then we'll go into SSIS, how to prepare an environment for SSIS, how to create SSIS projects, how to configure them, and how to run those packages with SSIS and get them integrated in SQL Server, right? So, and then if I have more time next Saturday, I'm also going to go into giving you an overview on different monitoring tools that exist out there, how to configure them. And I was hoping that this class will end with a 3 weekends. But if I need to add one more weekend, I will do it. But I will let you guys know next weekend. All right. So if you got this correctly, you can leave the meeting because I'm not going to teach anything new. If not, I'm going to help you guys again. Make sure you guys understand it, and then we can close the class for today. All right. Okay. I'll pause the record and take a few questions. Okay. Let's say, for example, you had a project and you had to make sure that you truncate the values before you add. What you could do is you could go on the job itself, go on the job, properties of the job. There are 2 ways you can do this. On the steps, right, I can add a new step. And then I'll just add a new step. And I'll call this step here, truncate data. Right? And it's going to be an SSIS, sorry, not an SSIS, a SQL Server statement. And I'm running this SQL Server statement as a T-SQL. I'm running it against the database, right? And then you can just go back on the table here, for example, and get a script. For example, let's say I want to right click here and, you can run here, truncate table. This is the table.
Yeah,
right?
truncate table.
I want to truncate this table. If I run this, truncate, for example, truncate, right? It should drop everything. If I run the same script again one more time, the table should be empty. There's nothing on the table. So now I have this statement that truncates the table. I can copy this and then just put it here as a command, right? Truncate this table, right? It's just a simple thing that truncates the table. All right, now I have to change the order. I need to make sure that this one goes up. So I will say up. So first of all, I need to truncate and then do data import. All right, so I've just modified the job a little bit. Yes, I want to do that. Okay, so now if I run this job one more time, you'll see that the value will never duplicate. You see now when I click to run, it asks, where do you want to start? Yeah, I want to start up here, run. But if it runs automatically, it will just truncate and then insert. So from this exercise, you can now begin to do so many other things, right? Think out of the box, do what modification you want to modify, and then have it as a package and run it, let it run. Let's allow it to run. Successful. All right, now if I run this select statement one more time now, I should have 19,000 records. What do I see? Voila, 19,000 records. Again, since I now have that step, if I run this job one more time, it will never have more than 19,000 records because the first step will always truncate and then insert the data. So the first step on this job now will be it truncate whatever is in the table. You run the select statement to truncate the data. And then the second step now will reload the data.
That was amazing stuff. Thank you so much.
All right. So let's just allow it to run and I will demonstrate that it works. So you can do this, guy. Let's say you have a refresh, which actually does an entire database refresh. All right. Do backup and restore. See, successful. Successful. Now, if I run this again, I run this. Sorry. Execute. I should still have my 19,000 record. See, 19,000 record. Never duplicate values because it gets truncated every single time. I've modified the script in such a way that it truncates and reloads the data. Yes, Simon.
I have two questions. Looking at what you installed, the SQL Server instance. I don't know, is it that which, I don't know, because it looks like there are two versions, the Express and the developer version, which actually are, because I saw that one has SQL Agent and the other one doesn't have.
No.
And I think if they don't have the SQL Agent.
No, I don't have Express. All I have is evaluation, two instances of SQL Server Evaluation Edition.
Okay.
Yes, they all have agents. Of course, you cannot do this kind of task without the SQL Server agent, right? Because the package has to run, and it's a SQL Server agent that will run the package. Yeah, so they're all in Evaluation Edition.
Yeah, right. Because I tried following up with the other one I have. I think I have one who doesn't have an agent and one that actually has an agent. So
the problem is that you have two instances. One has a problem with the agent is failing. And I told you I don't have time to troubleshoot why the agent is failing. Right.
Yeah.
So you can check the SQL Server services and figure out why that agent is not starting.
Yeah.
But if it's not, just install one more instance and have it running. But there's no way you can install SQL Server without the agent. It must be there. Right. The agent is installed automatically. There's probably something wrong with the agent. I don't know if the service account that the agent is running on in your case is wrong or whatever, why it's not starting. There's a reason, and you can find that reason on services why a SQL Server agent is not starting.
All right. And let's say the second question is, if you're you're actually working in an environment where you have those servers and the database, can you move the servers and the database all together to Azure, like moving all the servers, or just be the database that you have to move?
No, it's the databases. You never move the server. It's a database because when you're moving to Azure, you have to decide how you're moving. Are you moving to a SQL Server instance, managed instance, or SQL Server database, or you're moving to a database in a VM? So it's just the database itself, not the server.
All right. That's what I have. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Ehi?
Yeah, thank you. I had two questions. You've answered the first one, so I'll just move to the second. So I had two servers, right? One was 2022 and the other one was 2016. So I was able to move table from the 2022 version to the 2016. But at the point where I was going to create the catalog in the 2016, it failed. And the error, if you don't mind, I can share my screen real quick.
I can already tell what the error is, the version problem.
It's a version. Okay, so yeah, technically that's what, because it was also saying something about the service account. So I wanted to understand if that was the question I was going to ask at first earlier on, but because it worked, I was just like, okay, that worked. So I wanted to know, sorry, sharing the wrong screen. I wanted to know if compatibility wise, if it's okay to do from higher version to lower version.
Well, the package cannot go, you cannot do that on the package. For example, in terms of the data load, you are not moving the entire data. That's the only way you can get data from a higher version of SQL Server to a lower version. Remember, SQL Server is not backward compatible, but you can move the content, like just the table, the data within from a 2022 or 2019 to 2016, right? Now, the error message that you have here is the catalog, cannot access the database. Make sure the database exists. SSIS backup.bak. What are you trying to do? First of all, let me understand here.
I was trying to create the integration services catalog
On the 2016?
on the 2016.
Well, on the I think the integration services catalog really started working on 2017 and above, not on 2016. I think on 2016 it was different. You have to really log in under integration services. So you have to create that catalog, but on the 2019.
On the 2019. Okay.
Yes.
So when I do that, I know you mentioned something about the service account. So
Yes.
that's still going to be a problem if SQL Server or whatever is running the job is not able to access the service account. So
Yes,
it's still going to fail.
No, but you have to create the service account, right? You don't have a service account created?
No, I don't. I'm using the default. I explained to you at the beginning of the class.
Oh, the default. But the default, yeah, it's going to fail. Oh, okay, but it's going to fail. So you definitely want to create a service account. But can you cancel this and create the integration services on 2019?
2022.
That's 2022. Okay. Create catalog.
Yeah.
Enable that. And password. Password 1. Okay. All right.
Oh, okay,
great.
it did work.
So then you can go back to your Visual Studio and deploy. Go back to Visual Studio. Okay. Stop the execution.
Where
Up
do I stop it?
the little red dot there.
Right, okay.
Yes, stop it. Okay. Now click on the package itself now. And then you deploy. So let's say, for example, guys, hold on there. Cancel this, for example, just cancel. Let's say, for example, you have multiple packages here, right? And you don't want to deploy one package after another. You can deploy all of them. You can right-click on SSIS packages, right-click on them, right-click on that. Yes. And then you can see here, it doesn't give you the option to deploy them directly. Okay, it doesn't give you the option, but there's click somewhere else. Try right click one more time. It doesn't. Click again on go up to solution. Let me see. Click on the solution. Right click on the solution. Yes. Okay. Build solution review. Microsoft remove this. There's an option where you can deploy multiple packages at the same time. Click on the project under the solution. Click on the project under that solution. Yeah, integration services project. Yeah, that one. Right click on that. Deploy. There you go. Deploy. Yeah. Okay. So next. So at this point now, it's not just deploying a single package. You're deploying all the packages that are under that project. Let's say you have 10 packages. You can deploy all of them together. So next. Okay. Type the server name here. Just type.
It's default also, so I need to copy it.
Okay. Go there and copy. Okay, type in paste, and connect. Okay, now on the browse, this path, let's create the path. All right, now create a folder, otherwise folder, give it a name. Okay. Generally, this folder is based on the project you're working on, okay? That's why you create that based on the project. Okay, click OK.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. Next.
Deploy.
Let deploy. You see, right now, since you deploy from the project, it didn't ask you to create a project name, right? If you deploy from the package itself, you have to create a folder, create a project name, and then the package. But if you deploy from a project, it already has a project name called Integration Services Project 1. So that's why it did not ask you to create a project. Click or close. Go back to SSMS. And expand that package integration services now. Expand. Okay.
So
You can now see now it has expanded project. You see project expand. You can see it will create a project called Integration Services Project. You see project 1. Generally, you want to rename these to have meaningful name. And you see here, the 2 packages that you have are not deployed. Instead of doing the one by one, all the 2 packages just deploy here. And from here, you can now start using it to create jobs and then execute them and figure out how they work, just like I did in the previous exercise.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Stop sharing. All right, guys. All right. Let me give you guys a marking scheme now.
Thank you.
If you have to talk about SSIS in an interview, say, hey, Mr. Dennis, I see in your resume you have SSIS package list, SSIS experience listed on your resume. What is your experience dealing with that? Well, thank you so much for the question. As a database administrator, I've worked hand in hand with multiple developers to build SSIS packages. And my experience ranges from setting up environment. I've been to projects where I literally was responsible for setting up the SSIS environment for my developers to deploy their SSIS code, or also for myself to build SSIS packages. Now, I've built SSIS packages from simple data load from Excel sheet to SQL Server, or moving data from one SQL Server to another, or moving data from SQL Server to another Excel sheet, or transforming data within SQL Server for data cleansing to make meaningful insight into this SQL Server. Now, one of the things I do is that sometimes I have to build this package myself, or sometimes I work hand in hand with SSIS developers to be able to build these packages. Now, what are my role when it comes to deployment? My role as a database administrator has been really in during code releases or code deployment, getting these SSIS packages that I build, run through maybe code reviews. When they have been approved, I deploy them into SQL Server, or I can deploy them also into Azure Synapse. Right? Don't talk about Synapse because you can start asking questions and you don't know about Synapse. Right? I deploy them into SQL Server. So once these packages have been deployed to SQL Server, I take care of scaling these packages. Sometimes I may be responsible just for running these packages, or maybe scheduling jobs where these packages run at regular intervals. I've worked on a project where developers needed data refresh from production into sub-production environment done every single day, and I decided to build an SSIS package and schedule it as a job. And this job, I started a runtime to run somewhere around 2 a.m. in the morning. And sometimes this job might fail. And when this job fails, my role is to have alerts that sends me notification to my phone or to my email whether these jobs are failing. And when these jobs fail, I run into SQL Server, take the history of the job to figure out why the job is failing, and I rectify it. Sometimes I may be able to rectify by myself, or I may work hand in hand with developers to rectify this job. And once they've been rectified in Visual Studio, we redeploy them back into SQL Server and then make sure that they're running successfully, and we schedule this job to run. So I'm always the DBA on the back end, helping my team to make sure that their jobs are running, the packages are deployed successfully, I troubleshoot them and make sure I give them meaningful insight when they fail, and make sure they run successfully. That has been my role as far as, or my experience as far as dealing with SSI. I can keep talking. You see, if you say this in an interview, nobody will say you don't know how to, you've never worked with it. So take what I've said on tape, put it in your own words, right? Make meaningful insight into everything that we've done from last week to this week, and be able to say it. You can put it, call me, and I can make sure that the story rhymes with what we do in a day-to-day basis, because that is just what you do, nothing else, right? I've been to very few environments where I am really asked to build these packages. Very few. Some you may have to, but I've not really been challenged a lot in most environments to build packages, but I've been involved in managing these packages, troubleshooting these packages, and helping the team figure out why the package is failing. And either I do it by myself or I reach out to the person that built the package and the person will have to fix it. That's how you do as far as these packages are concerned.